Exactly What to Say by Phil M. Jones. Welcome to my channel. My name is Samuel and I want to make self-growth normal. If you want to make self-growth normal, then make sure to smash that like button. I don't know what brought you to this book review. Maybe you're hearing about this book elsewhere and you want some more information. Maybe it was in the recommended videos. I'm not sure what you think of when you see the words exactly what to say, but what was it for me at first and what is it really? For me, it was, maybe this is the kind of book for those moments mid-fight with my girlfriend, or when I'm about to ask for my next raise, or talk to my mom about paying rent. It's one of those more important conversation, here's what to say type of books. By the way, if you're my girlfriend or my bosses or my mom, and for whatever reason you're watching this, babe, gentleman, birth giver, let's not pretend these things aren't gonna happen at some point, okay? The book, as it turns out, is a sales book. It's for salespeople. If you're a salesperson, this book is for you. If you're not a salesperson, you're a salesperson. Trust me, we are all salespeople, and that's a good thing. Most of the world just doesn't know it yet. The author says that quite often the decision of a customer choosing you over someone like you is dependent on your ability to know exactly what to say, exactly when to say it, and how to make it count. So this book supposedly tells you exactly what to say in every conversation. I think a book that's really about exactly what to say would probably be like 30 times longer. Granted, this is a very short book, probably the shortest audiobook I ever listened to. It was like an hour, it was like 75 minutes long. In this review, I'm going to talk about why the book's information is important, what to expect in the book, some things I found of what's worked and what hasn't, what to maybe look out for as you read through or listen to it, what these approaches in it are kind of geared toward, some things I noticed and enjoyed about the books, some that maybe I didn't, and how those things were eventually talked about in the book to kind of settle my nerves. Then I'm going to read any standout quotes I had from the book. I'll say who I recommend the book to and what books to check out after, or maybe before if the book isn't something you're interested in. People ask me sometimes, should I check this book out? What do you think I should check out the book? What book should I check out next? You and me both. I mean, it depends. What are you looking for? What do you prefer in a book? What is going on in your life right now that you need a particular book for a particular thing, and what is that thing? The importance of this book does make sense. If you look around and you think about it, a staggering amount of success in any calling will consistently require someone to be an on top of the game completely communicator. My girlfriend and I started watching Grey's Anatomy close to the beginning of the quarantine. We're finally on season 7. For those who don't know, it's a drama show about like the most reputable hospital in the country. It has the most successful, driven surgeons who will jump at the opportunity to perform any procedure, especially if it seems impossible to do. And the reason I'm bringing all of that up is, believe me when I tell you, that show is like getting first-hand experience watching the inside of a sales organization that doesn't explain to you directly why things are or are not effective in multiple sales processes, where the stakes, by the way, are incredibly high, like life or death type of high. Every other scene in this show is an attempted sale, and it's ridiculous, and I absolutely love it. It's an amazing show. But I noticed that closely watching how people get what they want in that show, everyone is a salesperson, and communication is probably the biggest, most important, straight up weapon that a salesperson has. Again, everyone in the world is a salesperson. The biggest needle movers in history were salespeople. The biggest needle movers right now are salespeople. And the needle's gonna keep moving no matter what. So what gives with this book? How does it help? He says that there are simple changes you can make in the words you use and how you use them to make your life so much easier. These approaches, I think, are geared toward the avoidance of typical problems that arise as a result of saying what sales managers and trainers tell us to say in more old school programs and scripts. Ones that are kind of based on things that worked, before the digital age. Some of them I've been taught to use. I've worked in sales, or maybe baby sales, if that's what you want to call it, entry level sort of, for 3 places so far. And the last, when did I start? August. Right now it's the May, so kind of close to a year actually. All great places, each one more customer centric than the last, I'd argue. Now, despite how many variables this seems to probably disregard, I have definitely thought about why one of them tells me to ask more open-ended questions, for example, meanwhile another one encourages me to throw them this polarizing, if you can't tell me the specifics of your information that's going to help me qualify you, do you not know them? Type of thing. In this book, you'll find things that will kind of help get people to at least hear you out, instead of immediately show you this stubborn buyer's resistance. Prefaces that reject the possibility of rejection. I've heard from some people that, and whether or not this is true, I don't care, because there are 17 million different reasons why anything could go wrong during a sales process. I've heard that the biggest reason we get objections is that we don't handle them ahead of time. I think most of these sentences and phrases to begin and proceed with during a sales process are geared to help with the prevention of different kinds of objections that would otherwise tear the whole scene apart further downstream. Things that avoid arguments in situations where there are no winners in the end. What I really like about the book is that, one, again, it's short. It's not a long read or listen. And two, it's not too technical. It's very easy to understand what he's saying, almost as if he knows exactly what to say. But what he says is very clear. It's not scientific enough to maybe get you wondering halfway in, am I not really getting that much out of this book? I'm sure the author is probably convinced that a lot of people reading this book may not care all that much about the science behind why this or that works. There are other books for people who prefer that, the studies and research, like The Science of Likability by Patrick King and Captivate by Vanessa Van Edwards. Some of these I've heard before. If you're a salesperson, which if you're not, get into sales and get into sales fast, especially if you're young. If you are a salesperson, however, you might notice some things you've been taught and some you haven't. I bet you're a bit like me. You check out books like this and some things you've heard before. That one was one of my favorites. I bet you're a bit like me. I also really loved I'm Not Sure If It's For You, But and how open-minded are you about. I also found it a little interesting that he kept stories and personal stories and examples, probably unlike me in this review, to a minimum. Some of these I really am going to try, like just one more thing. Something you can say to get the conversation going just a little bit longer. You know, what if you want a referral? Other ones though, like when would be a good time? There are times this would work perfectly. It has worked perfectly for me in those times, but there are others where, you know, an alternative choice actually polarizes them and puts more pressure on the situation, triggering a decision to be made. A or B, or possibly I don't need to do this. I think I'm just gonna back out. The author says in the final thought, what this book does not do though is work on all of the people all of the time. It just works with more of the people more of the time. You may be doing what works for you, and that may only work with some of the people some of the time. But he closes with, it takes your ambition and drive with a few skills sprinkled on, and that can move you from counting conversations to making conversations count. Boy, did I need to hear this. Quotes. Most people are people of their word and feel pretty bad when they're called out for it. It's the only quote I had. I really only had, I mean, this isn't really much of a quotable book. Direction 1. I definitely recommend this book for salespeople. The further you are into a sales career, like even experienced ones, and if you're like me and you check out a book for the millions, maybe someday billions of dollars in value that it adds to your future, check out the book. Think a little first about where you would apply them, in what area of your experience in work and where in it. That and in life. I mean, if you're not a salesperson, you're still a salesperson. The greatest things in your life and my life have all come from selling, persuading, getting other people and even yourself to make the right decisions. So if you check out the book, the author actually does give a couple examples that don't even talk about money or buying anything with it. Think of how you can apply those and anything else in this book to you. I think if you're reading a personal development, technology, or business book, I think that is the absolutely best philosophy for everyone, is to be super selfish on how you can apply that information. Be selfish. These books are large investments of time. I mean, again, this one is a very short book, but they are small investments of money. I really just hope that you get the most out of them that you can. Direction 2. The richest thing about this book is that it is just a load of sales tips. So if you like this book, The Science of Likability by Patrick King is a pretty good one. How to Talk to Anyone by Leo Lowndes is also pretty good if you're looking for more tips. One of those has so many more tips than the other, but it's a little bit more fluffy. Why and why not to check each of those out, I talk about in my reviews of them. But before checking out this one, if you're not looking for books that are straight up just simply about tips, something more fundamental like Sell or Be Sold by my personal hero, Grant Cardone, or The Psychology of Selling by Brian Tracy. Those are both really dope books, especially the first one. Great choices. Exactly What to Say by Phil M. Jones. There's a link in the description if you guys want to check it out and read the reviews. That and all the other books that I mentioned in this video, if you want to check those out too. If there are any other books that you guys want me to check out and review, please let me know in the comments below. Also, hit me up on Instagram, and also let me know if you checked out this book and you liked it. But hey, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, because I don't get why people watch all the way to this point in my reviews. They're what, like between 10 and 14 minutes long on average, and they don't subscribe. But if you have subscribed and you want to turn it up just a notch and turn on that notification bell to receive a notification every time I drop a new video, that would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.